Hey, everybody. Welcome to Some Guys Talking. It's Brian Holler, Aaron Washington. Glad you're able to join us today. Hope you're enjoying your day and looking at us in either LinkedIn land or Facebook land or on YouTube, where you can find us now. Aaron, how the heck are you doing today, sir?
I am doing fantastic, my friend. How are you doing this morning?
Not too bad. Just, sort of getting used to our new segment here and enjoying ourselves. I'm, still messing with my camera and lighting and all stuff. I'm, not very satisfied, but we're going to just kind of power through. How about you?
Things are going great. It's been a hectic morning around here. I had therapy at 10, which I told you.
Yeah.
Very, very good session. I had a couple meetings. And the latest thing, I haven't even been able to show you. We finally got the Bloom carousel, and this is our baby. And she spins. There we go, right there. Spin, so you got 360-degree access to your plant. Look at that bad boy.
That looks pretty good.
And the lower net right here is perfect for scrog, and so it's got great support for your under parts of it. So that's what I've been doing the last couple of months. We've been working on Rooted Intellect. So it's basically thoughtfully designed home grow equipment that is assisted with an AI on our Discord that you throw up a photo and it can tell you if you got pests. It can tell you if there are issues with the nitrogen deficiency, you name it. And it soil analyzation, it can actually look at it. And so I'm actually at some point today, I'm going to put up a link on the Discord if you want to throw some pictures up on it and any weed pictures, and it will blow your mind how it will identify, and you can keep asking it questions. If you get on, just make sure you say hello to my partner Nerdy Burner and just let them know that you're here and from LinkedIn. So that's what's been going on. I've been doing some photography and video with that. So all is well. Busy, but things are moving along
as they should be. That's really cool. I like the AI integration too, and basically how you can continue to learn and grow and get step by step. Really helpful for, I would say, people at all levels of knowledge, right? So easy for you to plug in and it's a nice sort of guide to help you grow, right?
Well, one of the cool things is that, we've had people come over from Reddit and other forums on Reddit and other grow forums, and literally, we've had people blown away. They've uploaded a photo and they literally said, one of the gentlemen said, it took me 2 minutes to find the answer to something I was looking for 2 days to find. So literally it's ultimately patient. It never gets annoyed with, and it's great. You can ask questions as a professional grower or a novice grower, and you'll get you'll get an answer that is, and literally the answer that you get, you can keep asking it questions if you want it to explain further and further. My partner Alan basically used it to walk him through much of his first home grow with identifying he had fruit flies. He was able to give him the proper procedure to do that. He had a cold, actually it was a heat wave in Colorado where the plants were dying, and the AI said, throw in a CO2 bag and save this whole harvest. So basically it's thoughtfully designed equipment like that. We're going to have a grow tent and so many other things coming, but with the AI that's going to assist. So novice growers are going to be able to just go and literally ask it questions, and it will walk them through every single step. So with that 360 degrees, you're never reaching into the plant. So you're not reducing your yield. You're not breaking any buds, and you're not contaminating anything. So a lot of the exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to. That's why I haven't been on LinkedIn really in a couple of days, because it's just been all that. So I'm looking forward to coming back and showing folks a whole new thing and a whole new revolutionary system for home growing, and just it's awesome. So very excited about it.
Clearly, and that's a good thing. I'm excited about everything we've got going on at Beard Bros too. Some of you might have seen there's an event coming up in a couple of Fridays. So there's a lot of work internally to kind of make sure everything's getting done, but we're really blessed to have some amazing sponsors. And, this is just kind of scratching the surface of these sort of event series and partnerships that we're going to continue to grow and pursue. So a lot of much more exciting information to come too, but really looking forward to seeing everybody in Pacific Palisades on the 26th. And
I was going to ask you to explain it a little bit more, the event.
Well, yeah, it's Beard Bros Friday Sesh Live. So the Beard Bros have a really, a well-followed newsletter that comes out every Friday called the Friday Sesh. And it's a really cool industry newsletter. Sign up, go to beardbrosfarms.com right now, plug in your, email, and you'll get it on Fridays. And it's really read well by, a vast majority of the industry. And I've been fortunate to be friends with Jeff and Bill for, a few years now. And we were just talking, a while back about how there aren't these mixers that there used to be aren't really as prevalent any longer, and I don't mean anything super sophisticated. I just mean good batch of like people working in the industry of various facets getting together, to just schmooze. You can tap into some conversations you want, but come enjoy your last meeting or two, exchange some business cards, hopefully some business is done, get a nice gift bag, and enjoy some company, and and go enjoy your weekend, and those really, and we all kind of agreed that like, hey, what happened to those? And then of course, Jeff and Bill had always had an inkling to try to take their Friday session, make it a live version, right? Hey, all these people from all across over the campus community meet on Fridays to read this newsletter because it's a really good synopsis of everything going on in the country with regards to cannabis, everything from culture to business to, grow, science, medicine, real estate, like all the things, all the different facets of the cannabis industry's growth. Hey, what if we could just put that, sort of a live version where we just network and we're sort of focused in that way. Yes, we make it pleasant and fun for everybody and give them some additional reasons to be there. But really the crux of it is to just, meet, shake hands, and hopefully do business together, and have in a good environment with good people that you can grow with, ideally. Right. So that's basically what we've got going on. And that's going to happen on the 26th. Not to mention, a lot of other opportunities with regards to Jeff and Bill. They have a product line. We have media services that we, provide to other companies. If you're interested in any of that, please hit me up. But yeah, we're excited. We're growing. We're doing a lot of great things. And, I'm very blessed to be in the position I'm in. And I will continue to develop and always recognize that. So, yeah. Speaking of which, one place that sort of does networking pretty good, I just see him on LinkedIn now, is my friend Lori Parfit is promoting it. So these Tony P's cannabis industry networking events. Again, they are one of the few out there that I think are doing it in a way that's somewhat similar to what I described. They're in Chicago, so I haven't had the fortune of being one. They're usually in the Midwest, but I just saw that they're having another one here in this month and tomorrow, as a matter of fact. But anyhow, that's what I'm saying is there are some of these popping up everywhere. I would encourage people to go to them. It's really good. Like, cannabis is about relationships. So there's no better way to build them than to say, hi, I'm Brian. Who are you? Nice to meet you, and start talking. So that's what's going on. What are you seeing out there in LinkedIn land?
Actually, what just caught my eye was that there's from Charles Stockstill, the cannabis Maine's cannabis cup. I cannot imagine what cannabis cup in Maine would be like. Holy, yeah, wow. They've got nice flower there, so I would have to say that must be a hell of an event. Wow,
I would guess so. It's really cool to see a lot of these types of events popping up in the Northeast. I'm sure some of them have been going on for a while. I know some that have, but certainly I would expect to see more and more of this sort of thing. And good, right? Speaking of the Northeast, it looks like 40 Tons is launching in New York next week. Good for them. That's great. If y'all don't follow 40 Tons or unaware of 40 Tons, go check them out. 40 Tons brand, really, really cool, brand and essentially social platform to bring awareness to a lot of the sort of not so great things that have gone on in cannabis, and leveraging their brand and exposure and their nonprofit to bring attention to folks who've been erroneously jailed or have been very much victimized by the bullshit war on drugs. So so good for them. That's awesome. I'm happy for those guys and gals, and keep cranking. Support 40 Tons if you can. What else you seeing out there, Aaron?
I'm just looking. I'm just seeing Mike Tyson and Fab Five Freddy. That's what caught my eye.
Oh, nice. Now I'm taking it back to the 90s. That reminds me of our conversation we had after last week's
Yes,
show, where we
yes,
started going
yes,
nerdy about old school hip hop
yes.
and, the
We
hit
did
squad. And
discover that we are very much in sync on old school hip hop. And
yes, we
shout
could
out to
literally
my
have a
man
show that
Redman. I'm telling you, you said that you
we,
know someone that knows Redman. That's the only person that I'll be a fanboy over, because I'll
yeah.
be like, remember your record when you did this? Yeah, that's
Yes, the
gonna
kind
be
of
me
people
if
I
I
would
meet
nerd out
him.
about or write about that ilk too. Your Q-Tips or Redman, like those are people if I met them or when I've had the pleasure of meeting a few folks that are of that realm. Those are that's who I was idolizing growing up. A lot of times
Yeah.
was just super good MCs. I listened, to what they were saying. I listened to the lyrics. I liked the, alliteration and double entendres and
We
and the
had our
swag
shared love of
and
EPMD.
heck yeah, man. Like, I mean, EPMD is a great example, right? Like, one guy like has a lisp and one guy kind of has a thing going on and they kill it. They're amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so talented. Like those guys still today. I mean, Eric Sermon, shoot, one of the foremost producers in the history of hip
E
hop.
double.
Yeah, exactly. So again, we should not go off on this tangent because
Yes, yeah,
Aaron
because
and I could have a whole show just
yeah,
about
yeah,
like, analyzing old hip hop songs and lyrics and
yeah.
stuff. And hey, maybe that's a good idea actually. But anyhow, we can get
So
into
what do
that
we
later.
want to jump into?
Yes. What else you seeing out there in LinkedIn land?
Oh, I'm just so my man Matthew Dean. It's funny. I just see a big mushroom. That's what caught my eye.
Yes,
Shout out,
mushrooms
man.
and
I love you,
mushrooms.
buddy.
That's right. I do wonder if anybody and we actually had people watch the show last week. That's exciting.
Right
People
on.
checked it out. They tapped in as it was happening and they also tapped in afterwards, which was cool. So, people are checking us out slowly but surely. If you want to be part, we are going to reach out to some of you who we know really
Yes.
well. We're going to eventually have guests. And when we do, it's not going to be any different than what you're seeing here. It'll just be 3 of us instead of 2. So they'll be talking with us the whole 30, 40 minutes or whatever it'll be. And they'll look at their LinkedIn. They'll, dig into the big topic with us and they'll cover some CTAs on their end as we exit. So, that's our exciting, that's our format, right? Hi, how you doing? We do some headlines, we do a deeper dive topic, and then we give you all some calls to action before we go on our way. So,
So what can we
anyhow,
talk
anything
about
else
that
going
people
out
care
there
about?
Aaron?
No, why don't we talk about something that people care about? Let's jump into life. Come on.
All right, we can do that. So,
what do you want to talk about?
Well, we were talking about negativity before we hopped on. I think it's a good thing. I think people, I mean, everybody understands this, but I don't think everybody really understands this, if you know what I mean. So, what I mean is, I think we get that
Negativity.
negative headlines causing division, but fostering that division or leaning into one side of it or another can be a lot more lucrative than trying to be fair-minded. And
That's
the
news. If it bleeds, it leads. That's what they used to say on the news.
I used to work it seems like about a million years ago, but in a past life, I worked for a Fox outlet in Seattle. It was like an internship because I have a bachelor's in communication, and I for a minute there was thinking about TV and going that route of media. And as part of that, I interned for the local Fox affiliate in Seattle for 6 months or something like that. And I no shade, it was great people. It was a fantastic experience, but when you're sitting around tables and people are deciding like, oh, it's murder, rape, this little girl was kidnapped. Oh, here's a nice story about fluffy puppies and bunnies and ice cream. No. Like let's prioritize by what sells and what will get the most engagement, right? Which is of course, the horrible things.
The example I was going to give, would you rather that people are going to say, all right, you have 2 stories. It's like a millionaire gives an orphanage money or an orphanage burning down.
That's right. They want the burning down, right?
It's awful.
What happens with a car wreck? Everybody slows down on the side of the road. 15 more car wrecks happen because everybody wants to check out the car wreck. right?
Well, we were looking, so we were
We love
talking
speed.
about,
We love high speed chases. It's like a
yeah.
sport.
Oh gosh, especially out there, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, y'all, it's
Oh, it's
y'all's
like
thing
a,
out
it's like
there.
the whole thing. It's like a, episodic, like a, anyhow, yes. And when they happen, secretly the news, the news stations are like, yeah, little extra eyeballs on us today, right?
And they're like, I hope it ends in a crash. But that's okay. So that's part of the greater point. Like,
Yeah,
why just with that whole thing? It's, oh, how about this? If you have the choice between putting the negativity out in the world and helping people, because
sure.
the example we were talking about was the whole manosphere and red pilling, and that there is a whole segment of young men who are struggling. And again, I have to preface by saying, as a father of two daughters, when I used to hear boys suffer, I'm like, I don't give a shit. So I don't care. Like, I have boys yelling in my girl's face all the time. Like, I don't care. But now that I have my nephew in my life, that I've more or less, I have a son now,
Yeah.
and I do care about those things now. And I think at times we think that it's mutually exclusive. Like, you can't talk about boys that are struggling, and girl, like, if you talk about boys struggling, you don't care about girls struggling. And again, it's not mutually exclusive. So that being said, now I am realizing, and just kind of, I never understood the whole manosphere thing. I never understood the incel thing. But with that being said, now I see examples of it, and it's just kind of just watching it broken down, that there are young men who are struggling, who I think 18 to 24, 26 is the worst ages, but because they feel isolated. And then there are those folks that make a ton of money that are taking advantage of these young men who are isolated. And instead of telling them, hey, do better and go to the park and maybe talk to someone, boy or girl, whatever, just go be happy, they're like, well, you're owed this and you should be negative like that. And it's just further.
Yes. It's all like it's all creating more boogeymen for those kids. So, like I think that's the easy way to tell if somebody's genuine or not is, are they blaming, like, a lot now it's lovely to blame women for all of men's problems, right? No, women owe you this, and you're a victim of feminism is what they love to say, right? But they don't bother to say, like, hey, have you ever looked at the textbook definition of feminism? It literally just means that you support the equal rights for women, right? So you should, right? You give a fuck about your mom and your sister, don't you? Right? You care about their, like,
You're a
well-being.
decent human being. I mean,
Yeah.
don't even get me started on
So
how
it's not
you
even
can have a daughter and do some
right. Well,
crazy
I'm just
shit.
saying. So
But
it's not
anyway,
about, like,
go ahead.
you know what I mean. So it's not like, how can they be the the problem? Can relationships cause problems? Sure. Can men and women cause problems for each other? Of course they can. But to say that all of them do this is stupid.
Right.
And to say that this is a thing or some sort of construed what's that word I'm looking for? Anyway, some organized effort to, like, by women to make this happen. It's sort of like the whole ridiculousness that we were talking about last week. It's not as if, like, I don't know. It's not as if, like, there's the black Illuminati that's getting together behind the scenes and being like, no, here's what we're going to put forth for the race and for the you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no white Illuminati doing the same thing. There isn't. There's rich people who know how the game is played and just lean into it and don't want it to change. That's basically what we've got. And so, it's not anybody who's pitching you that it's, I would say, a group of people that are the problem, and specifically to the boys and men you're talking about. It's tapping into, like, the worst sort of thing, to your point, right? These people who are like, no, you're owed, and this whole, like, incels and all this craziness. Like, again,
But that makes
I don't
so
think
much
most guys and
money.
boys are
Explain
those
that
things,
to me.
but that's just the idea that, like, well, I don't agree with this, but for them, it's more like they feel like they're like, again, I don't know everything. I'm not an expert on this, but bottom line is, like, it's guys that are thinking that they, like, women won't date them anymore because the standards are unrealistic or not achievable, or there's too many good-looking guys with I don't know, assets and a lot of stuff going on, to where a normal guy, quote unquote, can't
compete.
get the normal things that a normal guy can get. right? This is all ridiculous to me because I think the entirely opposite is true. I feel like if you were a young boy today, the world would be your oyster. You could be any sort of guy you really wanted to. You could tap into, like being yourself, which I think is attractive to women, and then you should be in a place where you could, and then be just courageous enough to ask a date. I think some of those, like, again, I think a lot of this is like, a lot of men have made hay on teaching boys that, there's this double standard that you're a victim of, right? And to a degree, some of the guys can look at that and go, oh, well, that's interesting, right? It is interesting. I do have to pay for everything, yet they get to be more independent than ever before, right? That's an easy one to throw in there and say, bing, right? And we also know women that are okay with this, right? No, I don't care if you destroy your income trying to satisfy me. I got my money in the bank. I'm good. Right? And that's a real thing, I think, for men. And I think boys are not taught how to even negotiate those waters, which is really just, set boundaries and, discuss things with people, and don't go with people who maybe are, not aligned with you spiritually, financially, those things, right? Like, that's basically, I think, the answer. I mean, again, it goes back to this whole thing that we were talking about. The larger picture is the reason this negativity sells because people want easy fixes. Yeah. People want to blame things. People don't want to have to look in the mirror. They don't want to have to learn. They don't want to have to grow.
So that was what I was going to say. But yes, as a young man, the world is your oyster. But like, in some ways, I'm sorry, you got to fucking do better. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, sorry. Like, the way that it used to be is not the way that it is anymore. And I think that with that, it's easier to make the excuse and say, oh, well, it's society and cancel culture and this, and nobody can take a joke, and women are sensitive, and black people. And it's just like, no, in some ways, like, we all have to do better. Like the things that were said in the 80s and the 90s and whatever, like, you can't do that shit anymore. And it's just life. Like, things evolve, but to kind of dig in and go, well, it's everyone's fault. And but like, that goes to our other point that it's saying, like, it is easier to make that excuse to, like, instead of looking at yourself and why your life is not as great as it should be, or you think it should be, is not your fault. It's everybody else's fault. And it's much easier. And that's why it's just crazy that, you have folks that peddle this negative bullshit to these young men, which if you can't see through it, it's insane to me. You're blind. But they put them up on this pedestal like an Andrew Tate, and it's,
I gotta tell you, this is something I can, like, there's a loneliness to being that is basically capitalized on.
That is, right?
And this is really, and it's, I think, people who can afford to be lonely, if that makes sense, right? That doesn't mean that they're any less victims in that way. They are, but I think they're susceptible because they don't, like, a lot of these men or boys that are falling victim to this don't know what it's like to have their back truly up against a corner, or don't really know what it's like to, be smacked in the mouth, as my dad used to like to say, like, for real, my dad used to say, all that guy really needs, unfortunately, is a good ass whooping.
Yeah, that we still,
And I think, I mean, he meant that literally, but I think it's meant literally and figuratively, because there is realness to that. Like, being humbled is a good thing, or being sort of being put to the test in a way that's very uncomfortable. Those are things that are good for you ultimately, at least if you learn correctly, even if they don't go the way you want them to go. So, and I think people, like, we've also, I think it's good that, like, there's less, I don't know, pressure on young men to be like this hyper masculine, like, thing. I think that's less today. I think that messes with older men, and older men are creating this dynamic that your Andrew Tates and people like that are taking advantage of, right? They're only taking advantage of because of the difference between a baby boomer and a Gen Z.
Sorry, he's such a punk. Sorry, go ahead, keep going.
No, he is garbage. But, like, my point is, like, but
he just needs a good ass whooping. Go ahead.
That's why he exists, right? It's because of this, like, such differences between and we're right in the middle. I think maybe we're on the older end of this, to be fair, but ultimately, like, I know how frustrating my father's age group were, and certainly my grandfather's age were,
Mhm.
when we're talking about these sorts of things. Like, my grandpa, and he was a nice grandpa, so this is not even the crappy grandpas that a lot of people have had,
Mhm.
was still the type would be like, oh, you'll sleep when you're dead. You know what I mean? That mindset, right? This blue collar, like, hey, we're gonna work until our wheels fall off, right? Because it's tough and the right thing to do, and we run the show, and we're the toughest, and we're the baddest. Yeah, great. Why do you think we die earlier?
So let me ask you a question to inform that, because yes, that is 100% right. That it is loneliness, that it is the isolation, and then you fall
It's
into this rabbit
capitalized on,
hole
yes.
of whatever. So
It's
let's
also what
expand.
makes the older people say that they're soft. But anyways, go ahead.
Right. So, but let's expand on that, because the loneliness. Because I've seen several different figures. I can't pull it off the top of my head, but the number of men now who say that they have close friends versus 1990 is insane.
Of course.
So, what is your, because again, we're about the same age, so we grew up in a
Well, wait a
time
sec. Does it say that people have less friends now or more?
a lot less friend, by like a crazy percentage, like maybe a
Crazy to me.
third of what they had in
Like, what the
1990.
average person had for what they would call close friends in 90 is like a third less now.
Yeah,
That's
if not
interesting.
more. Yes.
I mean,
So,
that's a
well, with that, and the question is, and that's the difference of, like, we're about the same age, so we went to high school about the same time, and it was
yep.
I'm not telling anyone else's story, but you
No.
had a social high school upbringing with parties and this and that, and you did
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and you went off to college, and I at RIT, I was in two fraternities, so at any point I had 200 guys I could go hang out with. Let's go drink. Let's
Yeah.
go do this. Let's do
Right.
whatever. So it was always that kind of sociable thing. And when I came back to Boston, my high school buddies, we went out to bars and whatever. That's how I met my wife. She won't allow me to say that. No, but we met at the Cask and Flagon. But that was like, we were out in the world. So I was fascinated when I heard about the Tinders and whatever, because I'm like, that shit would have been dangerous in the 90s, whatever. But do you think, where the isolation started with the computers, just people being disattached from each other and not going out and being more stay at home?
I don't. I mean, honestly, I don't. That's a pretty interesting. I mean, I understand this is happening, I suppose, but it's weird to me because we have more access to each other than ever before, right? We, like, Aaron, you and I have never met physically,
Right.
and I would consider you a friend.
Right. At 100%, brother.
And
Absolutely.
we've spoken at length about stuff that I haven't spoken with other colleagues
Mhm.
about,
Mhm.
whether I've known them 3 years, 5 years, 10, 20, right? So again, for me, I feel like we just have to re-understand what a friend is, right? Like,
But is that
bottom line
because
is,
you're of a different generation?
you're right. And so, and I guess if this was normal, like for me and you, this is unique, right? Because we learned how to make friends in the way you described, and now we have this new vehicle that is a nice byproduct of it. Whereas I don't know what it's like to be, oh, this is my world. I don't look at this as like how I make friends, or a way to connect with people. It's just a necessity that I do to connect with the people either I want to, or that I know, or I'm searching other things, or I don't even look at it that way, right? It could be
Mhm.
a lot of different things that way. So the isolation, I think, is a result of a lot of people being in front of their computers for a long time,
Mhm.
right? People have video games. There's
And
countless amounts.
I'm just wondering, because
There's countless amounts
I'm
of
fascinated.
entertainment, etc. I just think it's. I guess people are more antisocial as a result, which makes
Mm,
sense. You know, people are a little more like, you can be, even pleasantly distracted all by yourself for 24 hours a day, all the time now.
mm.
You know, and maybe you blink and you're like, wait a sec, I'm, 20 and I've got like five what I would consider really good friends. Is that a lot? Is that not a lot? I don't know. When I was growing up, most people would say, yeah, you'll have a lot of friends, but when you blink and you're 40, you'll probably have about four or five, and those will be like the most important people to you. I'm blessed to maybe have 15 or so that I think fit that category, and then an extended group of even larger than that, I would say I am right there with, or that would help me in a pinch, or, people that are, loving, that, I would consider really strong friends versus maybe family. But I'm a different bird that way too, because I don't come from a big family. So my family was friends at a young age. Like I did have uncles that weren't blood related. I, was part of other people's families because I was such good friends with their kids or whatever. Like I was a latchkey kid. I didn't come from, I didn't have, what I mean? So for me, it was just different, so
and there's nothing worse than being a latchkey kid and you forget your key.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's how I became expert at breaking in my own house.
Yeah. I've had to wait on a porch for 3 hours before, real cold.
I just find it interesting because, just thankfully, and I have been isolated in just kind of the working thing in the weed world for years, but
sure,
I'm thankful that I've got college and high school buddies that, to be able to call, at a moment's notice if you need anything. And that's one of the greatest things that I have to say, about being a guy, is that you could not see each other for freaking 20 years. It does not matter. If we were buddies back then, we're buddies like you picked right up where you were. So all of my buddies, I love you all. I love you all. It's been a while, but I love you all. It's just fascinating to me. I just wonder how just these young men got lost, because, I don't know if people be happy with me.
It's because
this, but a lot of the
there's infrastructure.
Let me finish this point, because a lot of the issues of what's going on right now is because there are so many young men that are struggling and they're like self-destructing. That's kind of the concern. But go ahead.
No, I agree. I think it's just you have a situation here where I was not taught to be I was fortunate to have a dad that he would say, "I love you, give me a kiss." Right? He was also the toughest son of a gun I ever knew. And so,
you're lucky.
I was very lucky. Extremely lucky. And, he was a guy who commanded respect, was tough as nails, but also not afraid to show his emotions. Right. So I was very fortunate that way. As you well know, people of his age and certainly older, you don't really get that a lot. And in other ways, right? They might be put together, protect you, but they don't know how to tap into their emotions, or they might be able to do that, but they're not, reliable in some degree. Right. And so, I think you have a situation where I wasn't so guys my age definitely leaned hard into doing that more, I think, with their kids per capita. Right. And the other side of that is that, you're protected, right? You're protected, and you're encouraged to know that you can do anything, that you can grow into whatever you want, which is great. But it's also very oh my God, what do I do? It is. And then there's no, there aren't these sort of plugged in kind of things where, one of, I guess, I don't know if it's a benefit's the right word, but women have been able to sort of have these basically communities and things that you can tap into if you're struggling with this. And if you can't get some resources from your family, exactly where you would turn to talk to someone about this, or to tap into a group of women who are, can help you with some decisions you're making, career, family, could be anything, mental health, all that. There's very, not only is it sort of there's not as much, I should say, difficulty for women to acknowledge that they need the help and to go find it. Right. Guys have that biggest problem. A lot of guys have that problem. Right.
I was smiling because it was the perfect segue to the call to action. Finish what you were saying.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, you basically, it's you can't, if you can't ask for help, right, and we all can't really ask for help, then there's not going to be help for you. Because no one's if we're all just, and if the older people are the ones that make stuff, we're screwed, because our grandparents don't subscribe to this sort of thing. Our grandfathers don't subscribe to these theories at all. They don't like any of this. They don't like that we are even. They don't like that you and I are talking right now. Right. So they don't there's people. There's guys listening to us right now going, "Fuck these soft mother." Again, okay, you tell me where I'm lying. You tell me where you don't fit into this. Come on down. You want to see? All good. You know what I mean? I want to talk about things openly, and I'm tired of anybody saying that you shouldn't.
And that was the idea of why we started this whole experience, is
Yep.
because it's like we're going to say stuff, and if people have a problem, like, but we're going to be honest and say,
Yeah.
all right, well, two things. One, the funny story, you're very lucky that your dad told you that he loved you.
Yeah.
I was my dad's like number one little guy with him all the time. Never once said he loved me. So he calls me up. I'm literally on the phone with him. He was like having heart problems, and he calls me up and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to the hospital. Something's going on." So I was like an hour later, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go in for quadruple bypass surgery." All right, Dad. I'm like, all right. He's like, "I'll check you later." I'm like, "Hey, Dad, can you tell me you love me?" He's like, "What?" I'm like, and I learned like my entire life, you've never once told me that you love me. And he's like, and this is my dad. This is my dad. You know I love you, you little motherfucker.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, that's that generation. But
we're getting there. Yeah, we're chipping away at it, right? So there you go.
That's so. But I was smiling when you were saying that women can recognize when they're, when they need others, they need a bond, they need help, and they,
Yeah. And again, we're generalizing. Yes, we recognize.
Yeah, of course. No one's a monolith or whatever.
Issues.
Yes, you're right. Because yes, but women are more intelligent and know when they're in trouble, and they will do something about it, which is the point.
We've just been taught to learn to like look for those things, or those things are available to you. Like it could just be that simple.
So there's the call to action and exploring that we also need to think about. But then as men, we're taught you can't tell someone you love them. I tell people I love them all the time.
Literally, all those things you're taught by all those older dudes that are trying to act like you need to be tougher. Do the opposite, and you'll be a man. You'll be what you should be.
So with that expectation, then it is not a surprise that men end up in the situations that they are alienated and they can't. So I posted something the other day, or on Friday. It was my 5-year sobriety anniversary, and it was literally, it's not to toot my own horn, it was just to shout out, my family and their support.
Sure.
And the whole crux of the message was that if you are struggling with anything, go to someone for support, speak to someone, like talk to people, go to a therapist. So that's the thing. Like there's that expectation. So what can we tell men and boys as a call to action when they are struggling with these things, feelings of isolation, feeling that you don't have the life that you think that you deserve? And I think that we need to kind of explore that, because for any guy to be like, well, I deserve this and this should be, that's some fucking bullshit. Excuse my language. That's some bullshit.
No, it is.
But anyway,
no one should be like that.
Yeah. So how do we help them kind of recognize that they're in the situation, and then not to go to that negative source that's going to give you the quick fix that tells you, oh, your problem, you don't have to look at yourself and do better, or you don't have to change a single thing about yourself. It's women's fault, or it's society's fault, or whatever the boogeyman is. So what would we say to those people who are in that place of isolation and feeling like nobody understands them?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is, reach out to somebody who you feel like, because all those people have that one person at least that they're like, I could go do this. And now you've got plenty of like famous, in this case, males that have come out and been like, yo, if you're having a problem, talk about this to somebody. Hey, be mental health positive. Hey, it's okay. Like, you really need to talk to people. So again, at this point, I'm like, for me as an older dude, I'm just like, y'all have so many, like even they have more shit than we had by abundance, right? So my point is like, tap into that stuff. You can even call 988 or whatever it is for mental health. If you don't want to call anybody, you could call them. But I would say this, talk to your friends, like anybody you consider close to you that's a male.
Right. Be
brave enough to bring some of this stuff up with them, right? And I'll tell you what, if they disappoint you or if they clown you or whatever, fuck them. Cut the cord.
Seriously,
they're not your friend. That's not somebody who is worth your time. So I'd rather be alone than to be around pieces of crap like that.
Yeah, who aren't going to build you up and tear you down. Yeah, 100%.
And I can even say this, even given that we're older, when like the reason you love your friends, I can say I love you, Krusty Crew, my dogs, like those are my boys, bottom line, and girls, to be frank. But ultimately, like we knew that even younger. Like you do know this. Like again, I want to be around people I trust, that I like, that we can raise up together and have fun, yes, and learn and go to stupid crazy places together and concerts and all the fun things you do with friends. But also, it's about loving each other. You know, it is. Even if it's tough guy stuff and, you know, whatever, even doing it in that, with that lens, it's still about love. It's still about, yo, I love you. You're my guy. You know, you're my bro. You know what I mean? Like even, you know, like, and yes, to a fault in some arenas that can be, go the
Thinking
other
about
way.
all my buddies and high school friends and college. I love you guys. You
I
got
love
me.
you so much, man. But you know, point is, like, that's honestly, you got, just start, if you're, it's always about girls, P.S. So start talking to your friends about like the stuff that you're thinking about, right? Do it. I know it seems scary because you're like, oh, I'm the only one who's thinking these things. No, you're not. I promise.
No.
You know, like I won't get into too much detail, but there are certain conversation benchmarks you go through with friends as a man growing up, where you do realize that everybody's doing the same stuff that you do, and you are thinking all the same things. You all want the same thing. You're all looking at the same things.
At different ages, you realize that you're all
there's a lot of bonding that takes place as a result of those conversations. Have them.
Right on.
Like that's really the number one thing. And if you find yourself struggling so much that you can't bring yourself to do that, then yes, tap into some of these more strong resources. Maybe find a therapist if it's that bad, etc. Like you got to talk to somebody. Period.
Because one of the other things, and you talk about, you know, women knowing how to ask for help and men not. I think like the rate of people, I don't want to be censored, but people unaliving themselves is like 4 to 1. It's insane. Like women to men, like men are just, so that's the thing. Because there needs to be more conversations had, because I mean, literally, you just have young men and boys self-destructing.
Yeah, no, it is a problem. And I think it's hard because I'll just say a group of people have co-opted this message that do not have men's best interest in mind.
No.
And so, and it's not just the Andrew Tates of the world. It's literally a significant chunk of people that are a voting bloc, that are a significant chunk of one of our parties, etc. So we're not talking about nobody here. We're not talking about something that's not a major issue that continues to have it. Like think about what you said. Like boys are, I'm not going to use that term unaliving. They're committing suicide at a humongous rate.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and that's not to mention like veterans. So that's even worse by a bunch. And so, and majority of them, not all, are men. And so ultimately this is part and parcel of a larger problem that is a very big damn issue. Like men need to tap into the idea that mental health is a real thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Say it again for the cheap seats. What was it?
Like mental health is a real thing. Like you need to understand that the thoughts in your head are like a post or a meme I like to post all the time is don't believe everything you think.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't, right? Your mind is a creative beast. It's awesome, right? You can go so many different places and who knows where it goes. Don't feel guilty about things you think. Stop it. Like people think crazy shit. I think the craziest shit ever. Like, you know, like, and I'm like, dude, I'll even talk to myself like, bro, stop it. Like, you don't want to fucking, like, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, like again, you have to have a relationship with yourself.
Oh yeah.
And when we're taught that we're not even allowed to like think about the thoughts in our head, or that like you're not allowed to be soft or confused or scared or angry to that degree, or no, be angry, just take it out on everybody and everything else, not you, right? And like these are the things you're basically groomed to do as a man, especially in like America. And so we got to resist these things, to be fair. You know, like you got, if you think the solution is about violence or hating other people, you're wrong. There isn't any gray area there. You're incorrect. You're not right.
That's the easy fix. Because, well, just really quick, I'll hand it back over. Like you said, there's more. Like people have access to so much more today, but instead of for every Matt Walsh, there's 50,000 things that I come across that are like personal, because I'm always trying to. I've got a growth mindset, so I'm always trying to learn, whether it's about the human psyche or myself or be better. There's just as many things that tell you how to do better and be better as
Yes.
there is, but one feels one's easy and but what made me think of
Well,
that was
wait,
that
hold
you're
on. One is sponsored and has advertising dollars behind it, and the other doesn't.
yeah,
And
you're
there's
right. Yep,
multiple
yeah.
reasons for that. But like,
Thank you.
let's not
Thank
get
you.
it twisted about why you're
Yeah,
seeing
you're
more of
right.
these people versus these other folks. They're more money, and even if you want to further the um, Mr. Walsh, like basically you're creating an audience, and I can't fault him for creating an audience and then having companies be willing to sponsor him, and then he taps into I think he's on YouTube, so he probably gets money there, and some other places. Like, hey, I mean, it is what it is, but the point is like there should be a like I don't know. You would think that like and I think this might be actually happening, but at a point like stuff like that's just going to get I don't know. I think when people understand the score, those things tend to drop off, and those people that were part of that movement for a minute there, taking advantage of the negativity, they go away. You know.
Well, two things then, and you said what the advertisers, so that loops back to your greater point, as you said, that the negativity sells.
Yeah.
So that's the answer. Well, all right. So one of the things that I would suggest as a call to action, because again, I know people and men and
well, the number one is talk to somebody if you have some problems, boys and men, and in fact, anybody out there who's having some issues mentally, go find somebody that you can speak to about that honestly, and that's in a safe space that you can trust.
I was going to expand on that and say a therapist.
Yep.
And I just
that's literally what they're paid to create a safe space where you can be free. Correct.
Shout out to my therapist, the most brilliant therapist there is in the world. Saw him at 10 o'clock. So, all right, but talk about what is going on.
That's right. Be willing to say, and also say I love you to your friends.
Yes.
Say I love you to them. It's as long as it's me, as everybody means it, right? That's just the same thing. Like you don't want to say I love you too quick. I got you, but ultimately, like if you guys are buddies, like say it. It means something. Like it does add up. Those things add up, right? Like yeah, we know all the fake people that throw the I love yous around too much and stuff. I got you, right? Or call people friends when they're not supposed to. They're not actually friends, right? I'm probably the victim of that piece a few times. I like to call people friends, maybe when we're acquaintances or colleagues, but I feel like I'm friendly with them, so I don't know what to use, right? I don't want to say colleague; it's too informal. Anyhow, I'm right. My point is, like, don't be afraid to just do it. I'd rather default towards loving you too much than not enough. So maybe and so on the off chance I'm misinterpreting what I'm reading, oh well, I'd rather default to like I love you, than I hate you, right? Because hate seems like so much more like it doesn't even seem like the polar opposite, right? Like polar opposite of love seems like it might be annoy. Hate seems like a little too extra for all of it, to me. You know what I mean? Like it's a little too much, right? If I hate you, if I'm willing to say that, that means I'm okay with you not being alive.
Right. Being angry just takes too much work. Hate just takes too much fucking work. Right. I would rather not care than hate something.
That's right. So very few things and or people are that I could say I hate. There are few, but that's all like there shouldn't be much more room than that. I mean, yes, there are people that are just flat out wrong, evil, etc. And I think that's another deep dive conversation for another day. But anyhow, call to action: talk to people, tap into resources, find a therapist if you need it, realize mental health is a thing, and try to support each other in knowing that. There you go.
And don't be afraid to just be like a human being, because I know with men it's just so like, yeah, whatever, dude. Just drop.
And check out Bloom and Beard Bros. And on top of that, love you, man.
Love you.
Have a good one, Aaron. Hey, we'll see you all next week. Thanks for joining us, those of you who did. And we got some comments during the show this time. I'm pretty excited. We're making progress. Let's go.
All right. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. All right.
See you, everybody.
Just be good to yourselves and just just be kind to yourself. That's it. Just any negative thoughts, just tell them to shut up. What was it, Brian, when you have negative thoughts?
Tell them to shut up. Tell them just be like, yo, like just talk to yourself about like you're negotiating the stuff. Like, yo, what are you doing? Come on now. That's it. Just tap in. Just have a relationship with yourself. All right. See you, bro. Be well.
Later on.